Hello, this is Yellow Recap. Step into the world of Django. Join me as we follow the journey of an enslaved man fighting for freedom and justice. With unforgettable performances and gripping encounters, this movie will leave you breathless. Before we start, click on the subscribe button to help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. Are you ready for this? Caution, spoilers ahead. Alright, picture this. In Texas, a chained group of enslaved African Americans marches through the desert, led by the siblings Ace and Dickie Speck. This was 2 years before the Civil War in 1858, and tragically, Django was one of the enslaved individuals separated from his wife, Broomhilda von Schaft, after being sold. At Eve, their voyage is disturbed by Dr. King Schultz, a German dentist-turned-bounty hunter, who wanders in shadows to reach them. Ace gets furious and asks Schultz to declare his purpose or suffer. Schultz attempts to pacify Ace, stating he's a tired traveler seeking the Speck brothers' notorious slave traders. Schultz's genuine interest lies in purchasing Django for his awareness of the three criminal Brittle siblings. He presumes that the Speck brothers acquired those men at the Greenville auction, where Django can be located. Schultz then queries the enslaved individuals if any lived at the Kurukan estate, as he plans to buy Django. When Django speaks up, Schultz employs his oil lamp to brighten the faces of the oppressed group and locate Django. Later, Schultz asks about the Brittle brothers, and Django discloses their names: Big John, Ellis, and Roger, also known as Little Raj. Django proceeds discussing the Brittle siblings, noting their past role as supervisors at the Kurukan estate under his former master's ownership. Schultz intervenes, informing Django they no longer hold that position. Schultz inquires if Django can identify the Brittle siblings if they cross paths again. Suddenly, Ace interjects, cautioning Schultz to cease his current communication with Django. Despite Ace's interruption, Schultz attempts to pacify him, stating he's merely an uncomplicated owner conducting a transaction. Ace, however, declines to sell Django and aims his firearm at Schultz when his proposal is rejected. Schultz provokes Ace, questioning whether the act is theatrical or driven by cruel intent. In response to the threat, Schultz shoots Ace in the head and also fires at Dickie's horse. Dickie lies on the ground, trapped beneath the deceased horse's weight. Sarcastically, Schultz apologizes for shooting the horse, giving Dickie a moment to regain composure before making impulsive choices. Despite Dickie's frustration, Schultz stays composed and urges him to limit complaints as he wishes to continue talking with Django. Schultz returns to Django, emphasizing the importance of a fair payment from Dickie due to Django's ability to recognize the Brittle brothers. Unfortunately, Schultz leaves the other enslaved individuals to handle Dickie while Django takes Ace's coat and horse. The following day, Django and Schultz reach Daughtry, Texas, unknowingly capturing the locals' attention since Django is the first black man they've seen on horseback. Thankfully, they promptly own the tavern as the innkeeper flees upon seeing Django and Schultz. Schultz then reveals his plan to adopt a new occupation as a bounty hunter, profiting from the slave trade by killing the enslaved and claiming bounties. Though disliking slavery, Schultz explains to Django that his help is essential for their scheme to succeed. Reluctantly, Schultz agrees with Django's plan to eliminate the Brittle brothers and secure his freedom for a $1.75 reward. They set out on their journey, during which Schultz discovers Django's marital status and desire to free his wife, Broomhilda, who is raised by Germans and speaks some German. She serves as a house slave for the von Schafts. En route to Tennessee, they strategize to infiltrate a plantation, with Django acting as a valet to gather information. Schultz allows Django to choose his disguise. At Spencer Big Daddy Bennett's plantation, they obtain one of his enslaved individuals with his consent. Bettina, who offers a tour, is unaware of the Brittle brothers but points out the Schaffers, who previously visited the plantation. Having spotted the Brittle brothers mistreating a slave called Little Jody, Django kills one, John, and fiercely subdues the other, Little Raj, before shooting him 5 times. Schultz arrives and learns their names. Django reveals Ellis Brittle is in the field, and Schultz swiftly eliminates him. Later that night, despite letting Django and Schultz depart earlier due to the Brittle brothers' demise, Big Daddy's posse attempts an ambush. However, Schultz successfully surprises them with explosives from his cart. Afterward, they enjoy a meal, and Django discusses Broomhilda. Feeling responsible for Django, Schultz decides not to let him venture to Greenville alone to rescue Broomhilda. He introduces the bounty hunting business as a means for Django to purchase his wife's freedom. Django learns of Schultz's proposition. He partners with Schultz, gains bounties, and seeks his wife in Greenville. The next day, Django and Schultz return to Texas and embark on their inaugural mission. Django targets Smitty Bacall, keeping his handbill as a memento. He earns his first bounty and practices shooting. Later, they journey to Mississippi, finding many enslaved black people on the streets. Broomhilda belongs to Calvin J. Candy, the owner of the fourth largest cotton plantation, Candyland. Schultz devises a plan. They pose as wealthy buyers from Dusseldorf to enter the Mandingo fight game. At Calvin's club, Schultz negotiates $12,000 for a fighter, gaining an invitation to Candyland. The next day, Schultz cautions Django against revenge. They encounter Calvin's slave trackers, who captured D'Artagnan, an escapee Mandingo fighter. Django tries to stop Schultz, resulting in D'Artagnan's death. They reach Candyland, where Stephen, a head house slave, is astonished to see Django with Schultz. Calvin clarifies Django's status as a freeman. Schultz prepares to meet Broomhilda, while Django learns of her mistreatment but restrains himself. Later that night, Schultz communicates with Broomhilda in German, revealing their rescue plan and Django's identity. In a dramatic dinner, Schultz persuades Calvin to accept his offer, but Stephen, a suspicious head house slave, realizes Broomhilda knows Django, raising suspicions. He informs Calvin that Schultz wants to buy Broomhilda instead of a fighter. Schultz and Django adjust their plan, aided by Laura Lee. Calvin agrees to sell Broomhilda for $12,000 and threatens her life to force Schultz's compliance. Schultz reluctantly agrees but shoots Calvin when he menaces Broomhilda. A gunfight ensues, and Django is captured after witnessing Broomhilda's abduction. The next day, Django is tortured by Billy Crash. Stephen arranges for Django's sale elsewhere. Laura Lee changes her mind, leaving Django to suffer. Cunningly escaping his escorts, Django returns to rescue Broomhilda. Django kills the trackers and retrieves Broomhilda's papers. He seeks vengeance for Schultz and D'Artagnan's deaths. Django confronts and kills Calvin's henchmen, including Laura and Crash. Stephen attempts to intervene but is stopped by Django's dynamite trap. Django and Broomhilda escape on horseback as the mansion explodes. Django earns fame as the fastest gun in the South. The movie ends with Django and Broomhilda free and reunited, escaping their former life of oppression and slavery. Congratulations! Leave a comment which movie you'd like me to do next. Thank you for watching.